I was never diagnosed as having an eating disorder, but it was something that we knew that's what was going on. And sort of during that time of my teenager, I had somebody very close to me that was going through depression. And it hit the family quite hard. And for me, it was because I couldn't control that situation. I could control me, and that was my path, unfortunately. And my coaches were great and actually really supportive. They recognised what was going on. The pressure, though, to still perform and look a certain way when you're a gymnast is really tough. And I used to go to Tring Summer School, which was actually a dance school, and they would weigh us. And I started going there when I was about 12. Yeah, 12. There is no reason why they need to weigh you at 12 years old.
No.
For a summer school.
Yeah, no.
So a lot of things like that stuck in my head. And also, my mum was on a diet from God knows when, from what I can remember, and all I can remember her saying is, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. And yeah, it really did affect me.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to that. I think, even now I joke that if something terrible will happen, I just won't eat for a few days and then I'll be skinny again.
Yeah.
And it's it's weird. It's weird to think about it because I actually mean it.
Yeah.
Which is this weird thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all the unspoken things that people say, or in the case of your mom being oh, I can't eat that, I can't eat that. It's there's so many things that people say without meaning it that can impact people so much.
Yeah.
And during that time, did you ever express this idea that you had to, specifically when your close family member or friend was with depression, did you have any escape? You had the control of the eating, but did you have any sort of other escape at that time?
Not really. I mean, I think when I wasn't at home, that was my escape because it wasn't, sort of present then. But always in the back of your mind, you're worried about them. You're questioning when you're coming home is, what are you going to be facing? And for a young teenager, that's a lot to take on. And sort of, tapped on it earlier, me and my sister were very different really younger, and I was very much I want to help people. And the person who was suffering lent on me a lot through that. And obviously at that young age, you're I just want to make that person better. And just tried to do everything I could. Whereas my sister was very much, it's the fight or flight situation, isn't it? And she flew. She's I can't handle this. Or maybe she chose not to understand it, or it just wasn't right for her. But now she completely understands it. I think also because she has gone through things herself and her partner, so she can relate to it so much more and empathise. Whereas growing up, she had no empathy.
I see.
Zero. Not what we saw.
Yeah.
And I felt very much at the beck and call of that person, and that was fine because that's, you just want to make sure that person's okay.
And how old were you at that time?
Started when I was 12, which is when my eating disorder happened as well. So everything was a catalyst of that, really.
And at the age of 12, did you have a full understanding of what was happening to this person?
No, not at all. And I think back then, depression wasn't talked about. And I mean, I'm kind of ashamed to admit it now, but I hid that from a lot of people because I was ashamed, and because it wasn't talked about. I felt oh God, I don't want to be, sort of associated with somebody that's going through all those things, and that happens to other people, and it's not until sort of in the last 5 years that it's actually been accepted to say that it's okay not to be okay, and that's great because it's it's opened the door to so many people that are being vulnerable, and there's so much more help now as well. I mean, back then there was literally nothing. We tried so many different avenues: NHS, private, alternative medication, and just there's no support, and you are very much when you are the victim of that, treated almost like a robot. Oh, just try this, just try that. And they don't really want to get to the root of the problem.
It's more like a mask.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did the person in your life, were they open about their struggles, or?
Yes and no. I mean, we can say it was my mother. We can just say that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for being polite about it. Yeah, she's very open now, which is great. I think at the time, herself as well was embarrassed about the sort of whole situation. But she's very, very open-minded now. She wants to help people, and she recognises it as well in others, and said, you know, you thought about trying this, and you know, she's a real advocate for people in terms of like just talk, and she can talk. She can talk a lot, which is great, and that's what helps her as well. You know, you have to understand that there's no sort of one written rule for one person. Everyone's individual, and you know, therapy might work, it might not work for you, but you've got to understand there's so many different options, and never give up as well.
Amazing. Well, I'm glad to hear that she's now such an advocate for this thing, and like is able to talk about it in a way that she feels more confident in it. And so you were 12 years old, we're kind of going through this rough period in your life. How did we kind of move out of this area? So you were being relied on a lot at that time. What changed? Because I think I know what you're going to say.
Fitness.
Yeah. With the fitness, because as I was doing some research on you, and hopefully this is correct, but I read that fitness also really helped your mom. So talk me through that. How did you help her with your knowledge?
Yeah, so mum's always been one of those people that's like, I'm going to try this diet on Monday. I'm going to go to Zumba. I'm going to go to yoga, and never really stick at anything. But I definitely get my love of music and dancing from my mum. Like, I remember growing up and, you know, making cakes with her in the kitchen and the radio being on. We're just having a little boogie. Like, she just loved dancing so much.
Yeah.
And when she wasn't well, that, you know, kind of like the passion and the desire to have that fulfillment from music, it just went. It completely, you know, there was nothing really there at all. And that's when we knew something wasn't quite right. And yeah, again, you know, just wanting to help her and just getting like doors closed from, you know, the medical side of things, or like, oh, what interventions can we do to help her? And we try so many different things. And I remember going to like an aerobics class with her years and years ago when I was like 5 or something like that. And just remember like seeing her just love it and just have it literally belly laughing and probably getting the steps wrong or going the wrong way, but who cares? She's just having so much fun. And around that time there was, I think it was a Zumba class that was on sort of like in one of the local halls. I was like, Mum, come on, let's go. And it took around 4 or 5 attempts to get her there. One, she's like, no, I can't leave the house. That's fine, okay. And didn't want to put too much pressure on her. And then one time we just sat in the car park. That's fine. Came back home. And then eventually we got in there, and I just had a chat with the trainer and just said, you know, brief little bit of history about Mum. And she stayed, we stayed, and when we came back out, we sat, I mean, I cried afterwards. But we sat in the car and she was like, I can't believe how I feel me. And I was just like, whoa. For a young child to see somebody who is your mother and you adore and you love and you care for so much, going from rock bottom to saying those words, it literally blew me away. Like, even now I'm getting goosebumps talking about it, because it was so powerful. And I was like, shit, people need to know about this. So it was actually kind of like that really kind of just made me go like, Christ, okay, I need to do something with this. I really want people to find their true voice in whatever direction that is, but movement's got to be a part of it.
And how old were you at that time?
I think I was around, I think they were my last year of school, so 16 actually. 16, yeah.
That's incredible just to hear like the chi, like I'm finally me again.
Yeah.
And it's like that one thing that she probably hadn't done in years just brought her right back to who she was.
Yeah.